Hello everyone, my name is Ryan Cam, and welcome back to the AFI project. And today, oh man, today we're going to be talking about A Clockwork Orange. This was directed by Stanley Kubrick, it was based on the book of the same name, and it starred Malcolm McDowell among others, and it pretty much launched his entire career. And when it comes to Stanley Kubrick, people know him for precisely 3 movies: The Shining, 2001, and A Clockwork Orange. I have now completed the trilogy. It tells the story of a young man named Alex DeLarge. Yes, that is his name. He's played by Malcolm McDowell, and he and his friends like to go out at night and commit what they call ultra-violence. Basically, they like to go around town beating people up, committing murders, and, well, sexual assault as well. But this soon comes to an end as Alex gets caught and is sent to prison. And when he is in prison, he learns of a new program to where he can become a solid citizen again. And the movie chronicles what happens when he goes through that program. I had always heard of this movie, but I had never really bothered to watch it because I was afraid of what this movie was really going to be. And even when I watched it for the first time recently, when the movie finished, I just was like,
What? What the fuck?
At first, I thought this was one of the most thoroughly confusing movies that I have ever seen. But I also want to give a brief shout out to the channel called Renegade Film Theory, who reached out to me on Twitter and said, "Hey, I just made a video about A Clockwork Orange, so go ahead and check it out." And I did, and honestly, it cleared up a lot of my issues with, not issues, but my problems with what the movie was trying to say. I'll leave that video linked in the description. He has a fantastic channel. Go check it out. I'll try my hardest not to go into spoilers for this movie because honestly, half of the intrigue of this movie is going into it completely blind. This is one of those movies that you just need to know the premise of, and that's about it. But to try and sum this movie up in as spoiler-free a fashion as I can, the movie is basically about Alex, this young man who's just a degenerate in every conceivable fashion. He is abusive, he owns a pet snake, he does these terrible things. But when he gets caught, he is like, okay, I'm willing to try this program to set myself right, and he does. And he goes through a lot of pain to go through it. And then once he is released, let's just say there's a mighty receipt coming for him. The movie posits the question of if someone who has done bad things goes off and finds himself again and says, "Hey, I'm better now. I've recognized what I've done and recognized that it was very wrong and I'm sorry." How do we respond to that? Do we respond with apathy? Do we still have hatred for that person? Or could we possibly try and give them the benefit of the doubt and say, okay, let's see what you can do? The movie does a good job of not really showing the ultra-violence that Alex and his droogs commit. I was really worried that this was going to be like, oh man, this is going to be like an X-rated movie. But no. There's some very disturbing moments, but it shows like a couple moments of them like torturing people, but then it immediately cuts to the aftermath. Like the relatively infamous Singin' in the Rain scene where Alex is like, "I'm singing in the rain," and he kicks this guy in the gut while preparing to assault this man's wife. That goes on for a really long time. There is a lot of menace, but then it immediately smash cuts to the aftermath. You don't actually see what happens. I think that's a very genius move, because unlike other movies that is like, oh, let's be exploitative, Stanley Kubrick is like, I leave that to your imagination to see what all happened. The movie also does a good job of showing that Alex inherently is not as bad a person as people make him out. He does truly monstrous things, let's not get that twisted, and he should have been punished for that. But the movie also does a good job of showing that deep down inside of him, Underneath a mountain of crap, there is a singular rose, and if someone were to try and cultivate that, then he could see the error of his ways and try and be better. I don't think there's a better scene in that than when Alex and his droogs, after a night of debauchery, go back to their hangout and they're having that drug-laced milk. They say it has a name, but I can't remember it off the top of my head. But Alex is sitting there, he's drinking his milk, and he's hearing this woman do this rather nice rendition of this bit of Beethoven, his favorite musician. And he's just sitting there and he's like, okay, I like this. And then as her performance finishes, one of his droogs just goes, and then Alex takes his cane and whacks him in the balls. Underneath all the twisted barbed wire and chewing gum and scotch tape of his heart, there is a bit of him that still appreciates things. And if that were formed and cultivated and tried and promoted, then I think he would have been a better person. But no one really ever did that. I'm not defending Alex as a character. He still does truly dangerous and monstrous things. But he's not just a mindless brute who is just like, I'm going to destroy the world. Like, he still has a healthy amount of appreciation for certain things. And without going too deep into spoilers, he does try genuinely to change his ways. And, well, society doesn't really appreciate him doing that. A Clockwork Orange does a really good job of showing the difference between free will and conforming to what is the standard norms, if that makes any sense. I am not a cinema studies major, I'm not even close, I'm just spitballing here. But the more I have thought about this movie, the better it has gotten. It's not just a mindless, bunch of teenagers going around tearing up stuff. There's more to it than that. I believe that you could honestly write/create entire essays about this movie. It's one of those movies that needs to be studied in film classes and other related wares. And at the end of the day, I'm going to be thinking about this movie for a very long time. This is one of those movies that at first I was like, what on earth did I just watch? But the more I've thought about it and the more I wrote notes about it, the more appreciation I had for it. It is definitely not for everyone. And in terms of content, there is definitely some that will make you feel genuinely uncomfortable. I know it did for me. But I think if you're willing to have an open mind and push past the whole ultra-violence and spare the rod and all of that, there is more complicated matters to it. Definitely stuff that is more than worth studying. But that is all for me, guys. Thank you so much, as always, for watching. Next time on the AFI Project, we're going to be taking yet another hard left from a very disturbing movie about a dystopian future to a very disturbing movie about World War II, though far more hopeful than A Clockwork Orange. It's from 1998, and it is Saving Private Ryan. If you like this video, please be sure to leave a like, comment your thoughts down below, and if you like this video and you want to see more like it, hit the subscribe button and click the bell to allow notifications. That way, when a new video drops, you'll be the first to know about it. My name is Ryan Cam. I'll see you in the next one.